Every act of kindness has a witness, not of light, but of envy. That line burns, doesn't it? Because you've seen it, you've felt it. Every time you did something right, something kind, someone was watching, not to clap, but to calculate. They smiled in your face, but their silence carried more noise than applause ever could. They weren't blind to your growth. They were terrified by it. Your peace disturbed their chaos. Your calm reminded them how small their control really was. You kept moving, helping, building, healing, while they hid behind fake encouragement and half-hearted praise. They thought your softness made you fragile. But softness, my friend, is just patience wearing armor. You never fought them directly. You didn't need to. You let time become your witness. And time? Oh, it remembers everything. Now they whisper. They analyze. They dissect every step you take, as if your existence is an equation they can't solve. They call it luck. But luck doesn't bleed for years in silence. Luck doesn't wake up and rebuild after every betrayal. Now, what they're really seeing is endurance, and it terrifies them. Because endurance exposes shortcuts. Did you really think I didn't notice your silence when I was rising? I did. I noticed every pause, every fake cheer, every sudden topic change when my name came up. But I stayed quiet, not because I was unaware, but because I was busy mastering the art of being unbothered. The kind of silence that unnerves people. The kind that turns observers into confessors. Now, when they watch, I let their envy become the background noise to my focus. Because here's the truth they'll never admit. They wouldn't watch if you weren't worth watching. They wouldn't envy if your light didn't burn their illusions. And they wouldn't reveal themselves if your rise hadn't already exposed their shadow. Even reflections get tired of pretending they're not looking. That's what happened, didn't it? They slipped. A word too sharp. A laugh too forced. A glance that lasted a little too long. The watcher blinked. And in that single moment, their mask cracked wide open. You saw it. The tremor in their voice when your name surfaced. The pause before they spoke. It wasn't hate. It was exposure. They couldn't keep their disguise steady anymore. They watched you for too long. Studied your rhythm. Counted your steps. Waited for your misfire. But the problem with watching is, the more they observe, the more they reveal. They mirrored your habits, your tone, even your silence, thinking it made them invisible. But mirrors always show cracks when the truth hits too hard. And tonight, the reflection blinked first. You didn't confront them. You didn't need to. The silence between you said enough. They realized you saw through them. And that terrified them more than anger ever could. Because when someone like you sees, they understand. You don't react. You register. You archive. You remember every shift in tone. Every sudden compliment wrapped in calculation. The watcher exposed themselves through exhaustion. That's the price of faking neutrality. It drains the soul. And once the act collapses, all that's left is the raw, shaking truth. They were never clapping for you. They were competing with you. Secretly, silently, losing every round. So now, the mirror stands broken. The watcher stands seen. And you just smile. Because the best revenge is knowing you didn't have to do a thing. They revealed themselves trying to hide every action as a vibration. Every vibration leaves a trace. They thought no one could feel it. That subtle tension behind their smile. That flicker of envy in their voice. But energy doesn't lie. It seeps through gestures, through pauses, through how someone looks at you when they think you're not looking back. You started to sense it. The shift, the static, the heaviness that followed every good thing you did. Their energy told on them long before their words ever did. You learned to read rooms, like crime scenes, to detect motives in the temperature of a handshake. You didn't need proof, you had awareness, and awareness is sharper than evidence. You could feel when your kindness made someone uncomfortable, when your confidence bent their comfort zone. You didn't call it out. You absorbed it, stored it, turned it into clarity. That's the audit. Seeing who adds to your peace and who taxes your soul. See, your calm was never just calm. It was control. While they were loud, you listened. While they were restless, you observed. And every time they doubted you, you took notes in silence. Not for revenge, but for precision. Because knowing who truly stands with you isn't betrayal, it's maintenance. Their mistake? Believing you needed their approval to validate your energy. You don't. You mastered emotional accounting. Every fake cheer, every half smile, every "I'm proud of you," dipped in jealousy, went into the same ledger. You simply stopped investing where energy wasn't returned. That's not cruelty. That's balance. And balance, my friend, is the highest form of power. It doesn't scream. It doesn't chase. It simply recognizes. Every time they thought they were hiding their resentment, they forgot you don't listen to words anymore. You listen to frequency. The loudest noise in the room is the one that says nothing. You learned that the hard way. You stopped defending yourself. You stopped explaining. And the moment you did, everything shifted. Your silence started echoing louder than their opinions. It became a mirror they couldn't stand to face. Because silence, real silence, doesn't mean absence. It means calculation. It means restraint, sharpened into power. They wanted reactions. They wanted cracks. They wanted proof that they still had access to your emotions. But you denied them that luxury. Every time they tried to provoke you, you just smiled. Not a happy smile. The kind that unnerves people. The kind that says, "I know exactly what you're doing, and I've already won." That's the art of controlled chaos. When your calm becomes the thing they fear most. You realized words can be twisted, but silence can't be edited. It terrifies manipulators because they can't predict what it means. It's pure ambiguity. And that's what drives them mad. They'll replay your silence in their heads, searching for meaning that isn't there. That's psychological warfare at its quietest. And here's the secret. The less you say, the more powerful you sound. The less you explain, the more mysterious you become. Silence makes them question their own moves. It forces them to reveal themselves just to fill the emptiness. You don't even have to fight. They'll start unraveling all on their own. So let them talk. Let them assume. Let them create their little stories. You stay silent. Stay still. Because silence is not the absence of power. It's the evolution of it. They didn't hate your success. They hated their reflection in it. That's the secret behind envy. It's never about you. It's about what you remind them of. Every win you touch reflects what they refuse to chase. Every bit of peace you earned shines a light on their chaos. And that not because you took anything from them, but because you proved it was possible. Envy is a quiet disease. It hides in compliments, in supportive words that don't quite sound right. It laughs at your jokes, then mocks them in your absence. It shakes your hand, but its grip feels rehearsed. You start to sense it, not in what they say, but in what they don't say. That slight delay before they congratulate you. That faint tension in their smile when you win. That's not coincidence, that's discomfort. You've seen it, haven't you? The shift in their tone when your name starts carrying weight. The way they look at you like you stole something, when all you did was earn it. They can't understand that peace takes pain, not permission. And so instead of asking how you did it, they question why it had to be you. But here's where they lose. Envy exposes itself. It can't stay hidden forever. It leaks through behavior, tone, silence, and the moment it reveals itself, you see it for what it is: weakness disguised as pride. They want what you have, but they don't want to pay what it costs. So let them envy, let them stare, because envy is attention in disguise. It means you've become a mirror strong enough to show truth, even to those who can't handle seeing. They watched your discipline, not your luck. That's what broke them. Because luck fades, but discipline doesn't die. They saw you stay late. They saw you rise early. They saw the grind that didn't ask for witnesses. You weren't building noise, you were building structure. And the truth is, structure offends the lazy. They wanted you to slow down, to doubt yourself, to explain your pace. But you didn't. You just kept showing up. That's what they couldn't compete with: consistency. You never asked to be noticed. You just wanted to grow. But real growth always attracts observation, and the wrong kind of eyes. The ones that pretend to be curious, but are really calculating. The ones that ask how, instead of can I help. That's when you learned reputation is just resistance in disguise. The stronger it gets, the louder the envy grows. Your reputation wasn't built by praise, it was built by persistence. Every rumor, every whisper, every doubt, you turned it into momentum. You let your results speak in a tone they couldn't argue with. Because you understood something most never do. Reputation isn't about image. It's about endurance. You can fake status, but not consistency. They called you lucky. They called you different. But what they didn't call you was prepared. And that's exactly what you prepared for the silence. You prepared for the doubt. You prepared for the day when people would clap for your downfall just to feel taller. And when that day came, you didn't collapse. You elevated. Because your reputation wasn't their validation, it was your reflection. Proof that you kept moving when no one believed, and kept believing when no one moved. Pretending takes energy. Truth exposes itself. They wore the mask so well, charm painted on, sincerity rehearsed, loyalty faked with perfect timing. You almost believed them once. But masks crack under pressure, and time is pressure's most loyal friend. One day it slipped, maybe in their eyes, maybe in their tone, maybe in that one sentence they shouldn't have said. But it happened. The truth leaked through the smile. You didn't call it out. You didn't need to, you just noticed. That's your power, you notice what others ignore. You saw the fracture behind the performance, the little shake in their confidence when your silence met their deceit. Because silence in moments like that is terrifying. It tells them I see you, without ever having to say it. And nothing frightens a liar more than being seen by someone who refuses to play along. You realize their kindness was currency, something they used when it benefited them. Their friendship, a disguise for data collection. But when your peace stopped entertaining their ego, the mask started to crumble. You stopped feeding their need for control, and suddenly they couldn't breathe behind that mask anymore. So let it fall, let the act end. Let the exposure happen in its own rhythm. Because truth doesn't need an announcement, it simply arrives. And when it does, you won't have to lift a finger. They'll reveal themselves trying to hide. That's the beauty of stillness. It makes pretenders trip over their own performance. And when the mask finally hits the floor, don't feel anger. Feel confirmation. The kind that says, I knew it. Because knowing, that's your revenge. Once they saw you couldn't be provoked, the game ended. That's when the silence became unbearable for them. You stopped reacting. You stopped feeding their need for chaos. And suddenly their control evaporated. Because power doesn't vanish, it transfers. The moment you stopped defending yourself, it shifted to you. They wanted to play mind games. You rewrote the rules by refusing to play. They tried to bait you with words, with absence, with little acts designed to break your calm. But calm isn't the absence of emotion, it's mastery over it. You stood still while they unraveled. You didn't argue, didn't prove, didn't justify. You just existed. And that's what shook them. Because presence without performance is power. They couldn't understand it. They couldn't imitate it. They could only fear it. You learned that control isn't about dominance, it's about detachment. The ability to walk away from anything that disturbs your frequency. They wanted a reaction. You gave them stillness. And in that stillness, they started to see themselves. The insecurity, the obsession, the quiet desperation to matter in your world. That's the ultimate reversal, when your silence becomes their mirror. And that's when you realize something important. You don't lose power when you say nothing. You lose it when you try to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. So you stopped explaining. You just became. You started speaking only through your evolution. Every move you made became a sentence. Every success became a paragraph. Every boundary became a declaration. Now they stand there watching, powerless. Because what do you do with someone who no longer reacts? Nothing. You just stare and hope they blink first. The same eyes that watched you rise will one day wish they stood beside you. That's how the story always ends. With silence, not celebration. They'll replay every moment they doubted you, every whisper they joined, every time they underestimated your patience. And it'll sting, because regret is the price of watching. Instead of acting, they had the chance to stand with you, but envy made them spectators. Now they see what you built. The foundation they once laughed at now towers above their comfort. The discipline they mocked now defines you. The peace they mistook for weakness now radiates like armor. And suddenly they realize they were never against you. They were just too small to stand in your light. You didn't destroy them, you exposed them. They'll remember the day they lost access to your energy. Not because you slammed the door, but because you simply stopped answering. That quiet withdrawal hit harder than any argument. It taught them what presence truly meant. They just didn't value it until it vanished. You became the silence they now crave. Regret is cruel like that. It doesn't shout. It whispers in the dark. It makes them scroll through your progress and wonder how you stayed unbothered. They'll tell stories to soften their guilt. You changed. You got distant. You forgot where you came from. But you know the truth. You didn't change. You just evolved past their understanding. And when they see you now, they'll smile like nothing happened. But deep down they'll know. They'll know that the watcher was never forgotten, just out